Listen, you motherfucker. I've been trying to get you in person to do an interview for forever.
It's been a while.
And you keep saying, oh, we can do it remote. And now we have to do it remote. I'm really annoyed.
Well, but to be fair, though, I mean, we were both in Madeira, and it was really you who didn't have Danny with you.
So it's Danny's fault.
It is Danny's fault. It's always the producer's fault.
Fucking Danny.
That's why I got a producer for Bitcoin Review. It's Johnny's fault.
Oh, Danny would love to be here right now. He would love to be here with us, but
I love that look.
Man, where do we start?
Oh, that's a good question, man.
Do you know what's on my mind? When I was driving over, I've just been out. I've just had Phil from Gridless in Bedford. We went to watch football last night, and I was driving back thinking about what we were going to talk about. And I think there's we're at an interesting moment, right? In that people who are Bitcoiners, they have their own thesis about why they hold it. And it could be for a range of different reasons. They don't trust the government. They want to protect their wealth. They want to be able to, transact privately, whatever those reasons are, which are their public or private reasons. But I still think for a number of people, especially if you're newer to Bitcoin, your biggest fear is like an existential threat to Bitcoin. Is there still an existential threat to Bitcoin? Will I wake up one day and all
That's
that
a
money?
Tiny question.
Well, it's a big question, but
the answer is no.
Well, the longer you spend doing this, the easier that no becomes.
Yes.
And when I say an existential threat, I mean I know Bitcoin will never die. It will keep producing blocks, right?
That's right.
But if the price suddenly dropped from like 70K down to like 2 because the US government banned it, that's going to be that is almost the death of Bitcoin for a lot of people.
So how about this? How about we approach this? You come up with some reasons, and I'll give you my my non-expert opinion of why I don't think that those are valid.
Well, no, I don't think it's going to happen. If I was at any risk,
let's say it does happen, right? Like, what happens if like the US bans Bitcoin, right?
Well, I feel like there is like this coordinated attack on, let's say, crypto. Even though we hate the word, coordinated attack on crypto from the current leadership. Even saw it today. Do you see the Exodus story?
Yeah. Well, today, no, I have not looked at it.
Yeah, so Exodus Wallet, it's about to. Let me try and look up the actual reasoning, but they were about to list on the New York Stock Exchange.
But isn't that a scam?
Well, it depends what you define as a scam. It's a wallet.
It's a legal scam.
It has the kind of things on it you would consider scams, but
no. But like, it's more than that, right? Like, don't they actually have like some like scammier attributes? Like, they wouldn't pass the Howey test for a lot of the things that they have.
Yeah, possibly, but I guess you would disagree with the Howey test because that's a bureaucratic government set of rules.
Oh no, see, like I don't subscribe to the we exist in a vacuum, just like go into your bunker and stop existing in the universe. Like I'm a lot more pragmatic than that. I think that you should just have very good lawyers. You should have very good bookkeeping. You should pay your taxes, and then what you do is you try to break new ground in a way that you don't become a martyr. Because realistically speaking, through history, the majority of the time, the people that changed the world were not the activists, you were the entrepreneurs, right? And in order to be an entrepreneur, you have to be not in jail. and you don't want to spend your days fighting the completely rotten and bad incentive systems that we have, right? Like, so you let the professionals handle that, like your lawyers and whatever you're going to use, and you try to build tools that that go around the system in a way that you're not at risk, right? Like we've always, like the tools, like the cold cards, everything we build, it's always been in a way that it's like carefully designed so we don't get kidnapped, for one, by bad people, and we don't get kidnapped by the other bad people called the government. So I really think that a lot of the folks fighting the system take a very sort of like unnuanced, very sort of like I would say even almost childish approach to this. Like the way you win is by becoming more powerful than they are. It's not by like entering a fist fight with them, right? Like you need what I call freedom credits, which is money. You know, like you need money for resources, which is like lawyers and more computers and more things that give you more moat and more power so that you can change things faster and better, right? I mean, look at what Uber did, right? I mean, like I hate them, like as a company, they're horrible people, but like, you know, they literally said fuck you to the government in every single jurisdiction on the planet, right? And you know, did they lose some battles? Yes. Are they in jail? No. Are they like making a ton of money and changing even other things? Yes. Are some things for the better, some things are for the worse, but like it's not pretty or clean, it's messy, right? But as long as you have like a reasonable profit incentive that gives you moat and resources, I think you get to a better place. Like what you need is ethical capitalism, right? Like you need like you know, in a true free market, right? It's up to you to be ethical. You know, could we like 10x our company size by adding a bunch of like unethical shitcoins? Yes. Like I could make like 100 times more money, but I won't. Like you know, like that is how, you know, you change things, you try to do things in an ethical way, right? Like, but that goes for everything. So like, you know, if Uber was more ethical, like we could be in a better place.
But Uber was just challenging the traditional taxi cab market. We're challenging the government.
No, see, that's not true, right? What is the government in this place, right? It is the incentives and the rag pull of the ladders and everything else, right? So the government created a system of medallions based on people lobbying for a system of medallions that like were, you know, they're intertwined. It's like bad incentives, bad unethical people, and the government that enforces this bad unethical things. Like the government doesn't just like exist. Like people created the government. People are the government. The people, you know, like as much as, you know, I dislike democracy and, you know, whatever, but like the point is the people like vote for taking other people's shit more, right? Like people vote for more taxes very often, right? Like the way that they think they're going to get better in life is by taking away things from more successful people, right? This is the government.
Why is that though? Like, so I've just got a thesis on that. I've just, like I said, I had Phil from Gridless here. We were driving around Bedford and I was explaining to him some of the problems with local business and my interactions with the local government and the mayor and the kind of temptation to run for mayor and change things, right? I'm very tempted to do it. No, but I'm very tempted to go in there and on a very simple policy agenda of do as little as possible, spend as little as possible with as few people as possible, to reduce taxes as much as possible, to put more money in the pockets of business owners and local people.
But see, like, this goes against everything that's being sort of lindy and sort of like inertia of government and thinking. Because, see, for example, in Canada...
Can I just finish what I was saying, though?
Yeah,
Let me
sure.
just finish my point. And so, like, I was talking to Phil about this, and he was like, oh, that's very libertarian. And I was like, I said, the problem with it is that if we stand on Bedford High Street and we ask 100 people what a libertarian is, I'd be surprised you get one who knows what it is. It's
Right.
not a way of thinking anyone's used to. Everyone is used to, you vote for a party, they say they're going to do X and deliver X. And so you're essentially conditioned to taxation as being a natural part of the way a society operates. You know, the amount of people are like, no, taxation is theft. We're stealing from people. We should stop doing it or reduce it. it's so small, you actually end up sounding like kind of almost radical nutters.
But why? Why is that? Like, see,
Because it's
the
not taught.
system. No. We talk about this all the time. This is not the issue. The issue is the system of incentives, right? We have the government printing money, creating inflation. People who are poor, fucked, so they can't live their lives well. And a lot of them are working hard, and they still don't get ahead, right? So then what happened because of inflation? And then what happens is that like they vote for the people that promise them some free shit so that they can get more ahead because they're screwed. And so it creates a cycle, right? And then you get the worst part of it, which is public employees, right? People who work for the government, which just grows because public employees make more money, or not necessarily more money, but have more benefits, have job security. That's why they can be lazy and not do anything. So you look at like modern democracies where it's like, a fifth of countries work for the government and then they vote for more government, right? Like, and you create this horrible cycle. And this is not going to change until the money printer is fixed.
Yeah, there is some nuance to it though, in that, like I said, I don't think it's taught. Oh, I was at school. We're not taught Austrian economics. We're not taught about libertarian political principles.
That's public school.
No, I was in a private school. What I'm saying is it's not widespread education on this.
I think that's a Commonwealth country problem.
Really?
See, yes. Like in Brazil, in private schools, you have a commie philosophy teacher, right? But then all the other teachers are like well-paid, like private school teachers, right? Who don't believe, they're often, of course, more left-leaning. All teachers are, but they are a lot more realistic centrists, right? Like they are, because they make decent money and they pay taxes, right? So they want less taxes on their money. And because they're productive people, they don't want to take from other people. They just want to work hard and make good money. So it's not as bad. I think the problem is that the Commonwealth system comes from a time where most things were private. England, Canada, Australia, all the Commonwealth, like they all had private armies. The countries were corporations. They were run by a monarch, right? Like the things, the parliamentary system was not designed for things, for the current state of things, right? And that's why the Americans went and said fuck you, and created their own country based on fuck you. Like literally the Constitution is a fuck you system, right? Okay. Like it's like you cannot be a tyrant because but that's like kind of like a democracy 2.0 that worked well for a long time, and now that it got gamed, right, as well. It's corporatism, like all the politicians are essentially stock geniuses, and the systems get gamed because they're not no system that is organized enough survive forever.
I am well, anyway, another thing I was also talking to Phil about was I found out this week what the rate of pay is for a member of parliament in the UK, and it's £93,000. There was uproar because they wanted to increase the rate of pay, and obviously a lot of people, voters, especially maybe more on the left, were like, "This is a disgrace. They're already overpaid. They're terrible." I'd pay them so much fucking more.
No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. In Canada, they get paid like $400K a year or something when you add all the committees and all that shit. And they still find ways of like owning shares on companies that are going to magically have regulatory clearance.
Yeah, but that's just a broken model of the system. Like, I think you could have the rules are you cannot own. You're going to get paid very high, but you cannot own shares. You cannot have a second property. Like
they create blind trusts, Peter. There is no way around this. Okay.
Oh.
Because they have the freedoms that we have, right? There are also people. No, see, the way you solve this, democracy is fucked, right? But like, if you really want to improve democracy, what you do is only people who own land can vote. Okay, why? Right? Why? Because these are the lowest time preference people with the legacy system, right? They cannot move when they fuck up things. Their land cost and price is intrinsically related to the locality where they vote. You remove federal governments, you remove provincial level governments, like state level. What you want is local governance, right? Mm-hmm. So you have local governance, and it's a draw, it's not an election. And you have very short terms. So because the goal is to have government do the least amount of things and control the least amount of things. The reason why everybody's so politicized is because government controls every fucking aspect of your life. Like what your children eat at home, there is some law somewhere that says that, like, you know, it's ruled by government. So like, of course you're going to get politicized because it affects your life, right? We don't want that. We want less of everything. We should be focused on working, not like politics.
Well, so I'd say, I mean, I've definitely become very slowly radicalized over the last 8 years. Probably frustratingly slow for someone like you. You're like, Pete, why don't you just fucking get this? It's been very, very slow. But what really clicked for me was my frustration with local politicians, the local mayor, trying to operate businesses locally. In operating businesses locally, I've obviously friends now of local businesses. I'm talking to a lot of business owners. They're all talking about the same issues. I'll tell you one. This is a classic one. You'll love this. So in Bedford, if you've got a business in the town centre, like the main shopping district, you have to pay something called the bid, which is it's a percentage on top of your business rates, but it's a percentage of the business rates to a centrally run organisation that is slightly independent of the government, but their job is to promote the central shopping district.
Right, and so you can't exit that. Like, you can't say no.
Oh no, you can't say no. It's essentially mafia racketeering. It's protectionism.
Yeah. It totally is. But that's everything. Like, you're garbage.
Even worse, right? They have a vote. I think it's every year or 2 years whether the bid should stay or not. But the local council gets a vote for every empty property. So they control the vote. So it's a protection scam.
Totally is.
On the local people. And there's so much of this I'm now starting to come against. Like, so many things that are stopping me operate my business. I'll give you another one this week that came up. Is that some people say, well, I'm being a greedy bastard, but I have to give holiday pay to all my bar staff, even though it's temporary work. They're doing 8 to 13 hours a weekend. It's a second job, but I have to give them holiday pay. Even though they've not asked for it, I have to give it to them. So it's essentially going to reduce my total profits by another 10%. But I can give you lots of these rules all across the business that constantly chip away at the profits. And it's not because I'm greedy and I want more profits myself. And even if I did, that's fine. But the problem is I'm trying to start a second business and a third business. I've got so many hurdles, financial hurdles to leap, so many taxation hurdles to leap to have enough money at the end to start the next business.
Yeah,
it's super difficult. But if
the way the system works is that, like, people who work and don't start a business, right, in their mind, it's like, why is the entrepreneur taking so much, right? It's because they don't calculate the risk, right? Like, as an entrepreneur, you have no pension, you have no, like, nothing, right? Like, it's whatever you make. So, you know, traditionally, you know, pre 20, 30 years ago, people still had this understanding. So, you know, that's why I say capital gains tax is lower than salary rate, the marginal rate, right? Like, anyways, but like, you can split hairs on all this shit. The problem really is that, like, you have captured systems, right? Like, when it comes to physical businesses, you're fully captured. There's nothing you can do. But now, young people that only work in digital stuff are moving, right? Like, the brain drain in, like, most of first world is insane. I mean, like, you have to be an insane person, okay, to be under 30, no family, okay, very smart, like, say, like, you know, $500,000 a year kind of salary potential, right? And be living in a country that's high tax, right? Like, you could be in the beach somewhere, okay, like, surrounded by, like, beautiful ladies, right? Like, and like, working in amazing stuff that's changing the world, not paying any taxes, and having, like, sunny weather every day, right? Like, modern countries don't understand that the people are leaving. And then there's not going to be a tax base.
Well, so this takes me back to my point, is that I've become very radicalized.
Yes, good for you.
But more so not because people have told me this shit's bad, because I've now had the touch. I've lived it. I've got the touch points. I'm trying to. I go down my high street in the town centre, and there are so many businesses closing, empty shop fronts, and I keep thinking I could put this here, I could put that there, but there are so many bureaucratic hurdles to open it. And some of them, look, I get the fire risk assessment I have to do on my building, so enough people can get out the door, and I have the correct.
But insurance resolves that problem too, right? They'll tell
Sure.
you, you don't do this. You don't need regulation. You just need insurance to tell you if you don't do this, 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 and this, we don't insure it.
Sure, but that's the least of my things I need to fight. And my list of things to fight, that's the one I'm least worried about. I'm more worried about the business rates, the corporation tax, the holiday pay after, all these things that chip away at the profit that leaves so little left. There's not enough then to start the next business.
That's the goal.
Yeah. But
the goal is to suck every single cent. And because, see, they want to manage how everything is distributed. It's literally communism. It's just a softer version of it. But they don't want you to teach your kids with your money. They want you to put your money through their system so they make the decisions for your kids. This is the same. It's for everything. Every aspect of your life, they want to manage it. That's why they want the dollar out of your hands, because they don't want you. Dollars are freedom credits, right? They don't want you to have them.
Yeah, but like then I come back to this. Is this malice, or is this just an organic system of broken incentive? Yeah, because it's a bit like these hate speech laws, right? I can see the logic to somebody saying, look, we can't have you being mean to people. We can't have you saying mean words because that's not fair. So we're going to have hate speech laws. But when you actually get the reality of the downstream consequences of no free speech, which I've experienced, which other Bitcoiners experience, it's obviously worth having a few people having mean words said to them, not to have these stupid laws. But I can see the logical steps people have taken. I can see the logic of local government having business rates, then having this bid, this racketeering scam, because they need more money. It's like, where can we get it from? But if I'm like brutally honest, who is better at spending my income on starting new businesses? Is it me or them? It's obviously me.
But see, they don't think that way, right? The central planner's mind is that they know better, right? They have the PhD. It's the scholar class, right? Like they think they know better than markets. This is how central banking works. I mean, aside from the kleptocracy, if we ignore that and we think just like altruistically, right? Like they think they know better. Right? I know people who work in government, like family related or whatever. Like they generally think that they know better because they went to school for something, and the poor guy, that wants to just be a free redneck doesn't know better, right? In their mind, they make a value assessment, right? Of like, he because he's in the sun without a shirt, he's clearly dumb, right? Like this is how most of the bureaucracy people think.
Well, let's go back to the original question, the existential threat to Bitcoin that took us down this rabbit hole. That's what I think. I don't think you have it to begin with. Then you start to have a material amount in Bitcoin, and then you start thinking, holy shit, what if this is banned? what if the US government destroys this? All my net wealth is I mean, look, I would be a ruined man if Bitcoin went to zero, because 90% of what I have is in Bitcoin, 95. I think that happens, but then I think over time you start to fear it less. But there is it appears to be a coordinated attack on the cryptocurrency industry from the US government, coming from the DOJ, the SEC, FinCEN. All these agencies seem to be kind of attacking it. And what I haven't decided, I've tried to be rational with this NVK. I've tried to say, is this them just trying to do exactly the same for crypto? Apologize for using the word crypto, people, but it's everything they're attacking. Are they just trying to bring crypto in alignment with their ability to control everything else, or are they deeming it a bigger threat and trying to get rid of it?
So I think people ascribe too much competence to government. Really, like, so first, a few things, right? Like every time there's a new technology, like that, like it doesn't fit like their box on how to handle or even think about it, right? They go after it, but they go after it because that's how you set new laws for new things, right? Like that's just the standard, right? They went after video games, they went after porn, they went after like pot, like everything, right? And the main thing here is that, like, I don't think is like a coordinated attack. It's just that, like, it takes 5 years for these people to get around to sue somebody or to go after a company or whatever, right? Like, so like it just taken this long. But mind you, they've been after like Bitcoin related things or decentralized financial things forever, right? Like
Mm.
it's not new. I mean, like remember Silk Road got taken down, right? Magically they show up at a library, his laptop was open. They definitely didn't have a backdoor on something. And like they've been already after everybody. It's just, like they have financial sort of like what they think financial regulations should be, in a certain box. And if it doesn't fit in that, they're going to go after, right? Like, I mean, it really is that simple. It has nothing to do with Bitcoin. In Russia, they arrested a guy who had a potato-based economic system during COVID. Like it's not like they went after the Liberty Reserve people, in the early days of Bitcoin. They went after the big gold guy. The thing is, like, Bitcoin is immune to capture at a scale level, right? Like you can capture Bitcoiners, but you cannot capture Bitcoin, right? Not realistically speaking. So so they're gonna keep on trying to set examples because that's just how the machine works. But like good luck to them trying to stop Bitcoin. I mean, this train has left the station, right? Like,
Of course.
and but like, why is so important to have a lot of value come into Bitcoin? Like, the much hated Bitcoin ETF by some folks, right? Like, see, the more value we aggregate into the Bitcoin system, the more power we have, right? They cannot shut down Bitcoin anymore. They're going to get sued by the market. Right? It's like you'll be like a huge loss for them. Like these guys will lose more if they stop Bitcoin and the Bitcoin ETFs go to zero.
What about if they don't want to shut down Bitcoin, but they want to stop self custody?
How they do that? Like, are they going to make like computers illegal?
Well, no, I mean, look, they can't essentially stop it, but they can make it super difficult. Like they can attack the on ramps and off ramps and say
They are really hard doing. They've always
Yeah.
been doing that, right?
but in a way that you cannot, you can only transfer between agreed other exchanges or
Well, cash is
agreed.
already like that, right? Like, I
But
mean,
I'm saying, could they do that? Could it be that you could not at some point withdraw to cold card because Gemini or Kraken or Coinbase says, sorry, you can only transfer to these places,
no,
which
I
are part
understand.
of a yeah.
So they can definitely attempt to do that, but then the market corrects this beautifully, right? Like people just move to different suppliers of coin, right? They'll find a way. Like listen, I don't believe most people buying and selling like their lawnmowers are reporting that transaction.
Fair.
Right?
That's a good
And
comparison.
and that's a ginormous economic activity. Like it's mind blowing the amount of small transactions that happen. So much so the governments like literally gave up. They have a minimum on paper, but people go way past that, right? Like and like it's not possible, right? They will push and they'll try to scare people into a certain way, but like good luck, right? I mean, like look at this, right? Like, and this happens in the legal regulated financial system too. I mean, most American corporations are not in America. Like, most of their money and the entity, holding the value is abroad, right? You look at Apple with the Dutch sandwich, Irish Dutch, I forgot the name of that. Halliburton is in Dubai. Like people will keep on escaping, right? From the top, from the bottom, from the sides. And they know that, right? That's why I really believe that the purpose of retarded, stupid laws like those is they're more related about selective enforcement than they are about actual proper enforcement, right? They want to just pick the people that they don't like out of the game.
What did you make of what happened with Samourai and obviously that kind of chilling effect it had on Wasabi and wasn't there another wallet? Just a wallet pulled out? Was it Spectre?
Phoenix.
Phoenix, that's it. What did you make of all of that?
So a few things, right? KYC shouldn't be a crime.
Yep.
Sorry, non KYC.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a crime, right? Like
Privacy
you
should be a
shouldn't.
crime.
Privacy shouldn't be a crime, right? Like like you shouldn't have to disclose who you are to buy a lawnmower, right? Like it's idiotic, right? Like, but that's how government operates with idiotic laws, right? It's about humiliating the people into compliance, but those guys had a very brandish brand, right? I mean, like they were absolute dicks to everyone. but like but that doesn't make them like people who should go to jail. I mean, like they shouldn't, right? But the problem for them, and we don't have a lot of information on the case, and really what's going to stick. The government always charges people with like 50,000 things, and it comes down to like a handful of things later. Hopefully they don't go to jail, and we move on from this. But those guys, like they had a certain way of running their brand that attracts more attention, and like right there on the indictment, like there was like you're inviting Russians to launder money or whatever, right? Like they pissed off a lot of people, and those people don't like to be pissed off, and they went after them. You know so I don't know where that's gonna go. Like the Wasabi guys, on the other hand, they had already chain analytics on the front end. That's probably what the lawyers told them to do, but they figured, what, like, not a good idea. Let's just close it down.
I don't want to get arrested.
Exactly, right. Don't be a martyr. You can't change things from jail. And then the joint markets, on the other hand, there's nothing you can do about it, right? Like it's just, and this is like the silver lining on this is that the incentives on CoinJoin were very bad.
Yeah.
Okay, they were centralized entities taking profit, and in the incentive was for them to try to get the biggest lion's share of the market and be more centralized, right? Like, apparently they were working on decentralized versions of their system, whatever. But the incentives don't take you there. Maybe that's why it took so long.
Yeah.
Now, the solution, and like it got accelerated now, is that we need incentives which are now present to have fully decentralized CoinJoin, right? Like collaborative transactions. And I think this is the silver lining of this. Like everybody that was working on these solutions are now fully incentivized to create solutions that are non-capturable, and it's going to happen. This is the thing, right? You can't stop this train. Like it's like it's so optimistic that this happened now and not 20 years from now. Like it's like we are going to get the tools. Joint markets is already there and works, right? It's just going to get more volume now, right? Like we're going to have coin swaps. We're going to have silent payments. There's all these things happening. So like, the entrepreneur needs to be careful in two ways. Like one is like, don't be the martyr. And two is also don't freak out. I think Phoenix freaked out. I don't think it was necessary for them to come out of the market. I'm not their lawyers or whatever, maybe, but they're French. So,
but why did they freak out? Like, what do you think they were worried about?
So the issue, I think, comes down to LSPs, right? The liquidity service providing. And like, because the way Lightning works is that you still need a liquidity provider. Essentially, like somebody is willing to put the coins in the right place at the right time at the right multisig, right? And if you don't do that in a certain way with some trade-offs, then it's too expensive. It was expensive, more expensive than custodial Lightning. Lightning is a technology that is better for custodial hub and spoke model.
Of course, yeah.
Right? Hopefully, all these things will also now have better incentives for people to create alternatives to Lightning or Lightning solutions that sort of focus more on non-custodial. Because there's nothing like the fear of jail to make technology go in a different direction. So like again, this is all like it sucks for the Samourai guys. Like I hope there's a legal fund. I would personally donate to that legal fund. I think this is like the legal system should not be how you handle this, but the silver lining is we have now better incentives.
Do you ever consider it yourself? Do you ever think they might come after Coldcard, come up with a way of saying, do you know what you're producing there is a tool which allows people to hide money from government and launder it? Do you ever
from day one? Yeah. So
you worry, but you've got that on your mind.
So we started Coinkite like very long ago, right? And it was a different landscape. A lot of people using Bitcoin were using for things that were unaccepted by the government, and it was very scary. You know, then you had like Silk Road, you had also like closed down, you had Liberty, like it was a very tricky landscape. And at that time, we lawyered up like immediately in the early days, right? And our goal has always been be lawful and build the tools in a way that you don't get kidnapped. Like seriously, that's been my
Yeah.
number one, because that protects my customers, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I built the software in a way that I cannot be coerced to change the software in a way that could put them at risk. It's always been the goal, right? And it's better incentives this way. Does it remove away from some profit and growth? Yes, but it protects everyone. It's a much better way of building things. So like nowadays, do I have any concern? Absolutely not. Anyone can build a code card. If there is any concern of our company, like there is a million ways to go around it. We can produce anywhere in the world, if that's possible. Like it's all like, again, I have a lot of like very solid ground under me in design of the product, and like in the legal footing that we stand. I'm not concerned.
What does concern you? Are you cool with everything?
Like I had to change back my Twitter handle to deterministic optimism because people were so gloomy. I mean, like, how can you not be optimistic, right? Like, you make babies. Bitcoin price is at what, like over $60,000,
I know.
right? Like, it's sunny outside. The world is figuring out the seed oils are shit, right? Like, it's like there is a million jurisdictions that want your business. It's like, we've never attracted this many like open source people into freedom technology and figure out a way of monetizing it so that they can like have a living. Like, like, how can you not be optimistic?
All right, so then what's exciting you? Like, what are you? Because I don't think it's Ordinals.
No.
By the way, what do you think about that? I've come back and forth on this stuff, like from not caring, let the free market do its thing, to like this is just fucking junk, bloating the blockchain, ruining the experience of people. I did a long interview with Bitcoin Mechanic where he laid out his thesis for why it's spam. I agreed with him.
Love Mechanic.
Yeah, great fucking guy. But like, I just agreed with him. I thought, and most of all, I just thought he approached Bitcoin in a very principled way about fixing the money. And it's really funny because when the camp got divided on the scaling wars back in 2017, I was new to Bitcoin, right? So I didn't see a group of friends get split on an issue. There was like pre-scaling wars where you see photos of people who are now potentially mortal enemies, who at the time were friends, going to conferences together, doing things together. And I'm not saying because of Ordinals people become mortal enemies, but the remaining kind of like group of Bitcoiners who have a kind of fairly singular vision of Bitcoin have now had another thing that's divided people. Some people are like, this is absolute bullshit. This is spam. It's bad for Bitcoin. They're here. And then you've got this other group on the other side. But it's people on different sides that I wouldn't have expected.
Peter,
it's just fascinating.
At the end of the revolutionaries kill each other. That's all that they know to do, right? It's, I don't know. So I did a whole episode, probably a couple of years ago when that started to show up with Casey, the inventor, on Bitcoin Review, right? And you can see me going through the thinking and then the coping and then the acceptance. I went through all the phases of grief
in an hour.
In an hour. It was like 2, but yes. And the thing is, like, I mean, Casey is a hacker, like a brilliant hacker, one of the people who most, like, he really understands Bitcoin well, and that's why you're not going to get rid of this shit. And the problem is, like, money is amoral and is like, absent of any human sort of feelings, right? It's just a tool. It's like math, right? You can calculate how to make a bomb, you can calculate how to save a life, right? Like it's not, it's just like an abstract tool. um and um you know it's the people who choose to pursue a path of, like, whatever morality they choose, right? Like, so like, like mechanic chose this path, right? Like it's a path of pain because the money is amoral and it's not going to change, and most people are going to probably pursue a profit path, which is a more market driven path, with selective morals, selective ethics, right? And you can't fight that. Like, like the way you win is by like offering a better economical alternative, right? Like, so like if ocean mining has like the most hash rate because they offer the best rewards, people go there and not mine ordinals. Like, they do have an incredible template,
Yeah.
a system, right? Like, and a lot of times they actually offer more payout even without the ordinals, but they also
Mm.
offer the ordinals one now too. But the point is, like, you have to win through economics, not through like, preach, or like, it's like banging your head against the wall.
Bit like politics, same thing.
Yes, I mean, Bitcoin is politics, right? I mean, Bitcoiners don't like to hear that, but like at the end of the day, it's people who run the network, right? Like it's people who have the economical human action. It's not like, it's not like absent of that either.
Because I remember a time where maybe your approach to somebody who you disagree with or what they're doing would be to sit with them in a restaurant and yell at them.
Oh, I
Maybe
know.
in
I
a
remember
maybe
very
in a New
clearly.
York restaurant, maybe a New York
Yes,
steak restaurant, maybe they're a podcast owner, and you're just like, "Fucking what the fuck are you doing?"
I was like ready to break a bottle at Peter's head. Like it was during the UASF, a very very political,
Yeah.
a Bitcoin moment, very important for the people to take action. Um, and I voiced my opinions very loudly to Peter at the bar at the steakhouse, because
Was that
he
7
had
years ago?
he was giving the stage to the bad people.
I remember you literally pulled up a chair, you, like, sat forward on it. Gave me a good talking to. Bro, that was, like, 7 years ago.
Best way to meet somebody.
That was, like, 7 years ago.
Jesus Christ, the time
Yeah.
flies, huh?
Do you think you've become a little bit more philosophical about it?
I don't know, man. Like, it's like I read less. Like, I found all these things to be scams. I don't believe in like overthinking about things anymore. It's like, you go through this phase in your 30s, in your early 30s, where it's like, oh, I am smart now, and you go like, look, I read all this very long, thick books about things and deeper things, right? Like, which in your 20s, like, they're just beyond your comprehension to a certain extent, right? uh, and then you go like, and then you start like going through it, and then you have kids and stuff, and you go like, this is all just fucking mental masturbation, right? Like, it's like, stop fucking thinking. Like, go do shit.
Do you think it's a bit like, we see all these protests in colleges and universities that, like, young people think they can shout people into changing their
Yeah,
opinion? Is it essentially the same thing?
yeah, totally. Like, it's, like I always say, like, protests where brains go to die, right? Like, it's so like, it's such a fucking waste of time. It's the entrepreneur that's going to change the things. It really is. Like, it's not going to be the screaming people on a sidewalk. We know now that activist investing doesn't really work the way that people thought it works. I mean, look at BlackRock losing money to the green shit. Like, really, in a long enough timeline, all Bitcoiners become podcasters, and um, like, only economics matter, right? Like real, like um, Austrian sort of like economics matter. Because like, all that credit mumbo jumbo sort of goes around. Same for all this activist shit. Like, these kids are there screaming, they're gonna change nothing.
So it's a bit like what Jack, because you don't really see Jack Dorsey screaming and shouting at people. He will occasionally make a very, very solid point, usually using like 2 or 3 words on Twitter. But actually, what he's doing is he's just investing money into people who build stuff and to building the right things.
I mean, like look at, like, I think he recognized that, like, there was not enough funds for free open source software in Bitcoin, aside from Core, not just Core, right, and Nostr as well. So like he funded OpenSats, which I'm a member of that, board member there, and like we have like now tens of millions of dollars to fund that stuff, and that affects more change. I struggle with some of that because like philanthropy can distort markets as well. So like there is a lot of care and concern about some of that stuff, but like it's another force out there, right? Like if you want to affect change, do this, and it's all no strings attached, like absolutely no strings attached. It, like it's better to fund competing ideas and competing things and see where the market takes them, right? Like it's a very spontaneous order sort of mindset, and I think it's a very worthy one.
A bit like all those people who invested for years out of Silicon Valley into shitcoin projects, who aren't really investing into shitcoin projects as much anymore because that era of massive competing protocols has kind of died. It's just like the stuff's now coming to Bitcoin and they're now investing in there. But the reality is, if in all this ordinal BRC20 shit just blows up like we expected to, then eventually the economics will kill that as a market.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's one of those things, like, who cares? Like, let them, like, if they, like, like the people who graffiti things eventually get bored and grow up and go like have kids and do something else, right? Like, it's like you can't fight graffiti, like, that. Like, I mean, you live in Britain, like you can repaint that wall as many times as you want. They will come back and re-graffiti. Like, there is nothing you can do. It's like, and they have a profit incentive, which makes it even like worse, right? So but like, it's not all without lost. There's been good things that came out of that, right? Like we have like PSBT markets. There's a lot of like interesting smart people building interesting things, hopefully. I'm sure like a spray paint brands got better spray paint created because of some of the graffiti people.
Yeah, maybe. I hadn't thought about. Okay, so like it's quite interesting because I think you're almost like saying what will be will be.
Yeah, I mean, really, like, like it's like there is this, like, again, without like going to the mental masturbation part of this, but like there's this stoic thing where it's like, you only like worried about things you can control, and you don't worry about things you can't control. You just deal with them. Like, really, like, like as an entrepreneur, you kind of have to embrace those ideals anyways, right? Like, what the fuck, you're gonna like stop running your business because they charge you more taxes? No, right? Like, you figure out a way of like, creating better economics around it, or changing the location of your business. Like, you just deal with shit that comes on your desk. Like, as an entrepreneur, you get mail, right? Like, there's a lot of government mail, and you never know what's going to be in that letter. Like, it's like, Is it an audit? Is it more taxes? Is it both? Right? Like,
new rules.
It's like, and as more freedom credits you have, like, the more you just say to the lawyers, fucking deal with it. Like, it's just like, I don't care. Like,
well, it's a bit like when I've been out to these like high inflation countries, there's no one really in the UK saying, right, do you know what? I need to get my hand on some dollars because this pound is fucked.
Yeah.
But you go to, when I went to Siem Reap in Cambodia, they wanted dollars. They actually want crisp ones without a tear. The slight tear, they don't want it. Yeah, when you go to Argentina, people are constantly trying to get away from the peso. It's like once something doesn't work, people will naturally find an alternative.
Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin is black market money. I mean, like, and we say this not in the illegal sense. It's just that, like, Bitcoin doesn't exist in their system. They're trying to come to the Bitcoin system, right? It's the same, like, like cash in a way, but not quite there. And gold, of course, there, but not quite there either because it was not transportable. So, like, we now have this thing that they have no choice. They're going to have to accept, and it changes the rules. They're going to freak out, right? They're gonna try to do things that are absurd, but then eventually they are gonna have to accept some of them. Like, I mean, you can drive essentially like a statistically speaking, a killing machine in the highway at 120 kilometers an hour, right? With like a basic 1 day test, right? Like, I mean, you want to talk about like, dangerous shit. I mean, cars kill people.
A lot
Guns
of
don't
people.
kill people, cars kill people. And yet you have like people with their phone, a massive fucking coffee in the highway, half asleep in the morning.
Yeah, road crashes kill over 1.3 million people worldwide each and every year.
There you go.
So
So
one
like
person killed every 25 seconds.
it's a genocide, right? But the thing is, it's a technology that adds value, and a value that is so great that you can't stop it. But you can't just say no to cars. I mean, God knows a lot of woke cities do it, but then all the smart people move out, right? Like, they move to the country. People are figuring out the cities are shitcoins, but
another person just died in a car crash.
There you go, right? We're going to do that. We're going to put a beep on the show.
I've got it here. I've got the timer.
There you go. But, it's just, technology that is indispensable, right? That it becomes fully, like, there's only so much they can do, right? And they are going to keep on making it, like, less demanding on the technology because it affects too many people's lives. And it detracts too much from the economic output, right? I mean, look at the internet; it's here.
Yeah. Like, how optimistic are you about the change it brings? Then,
I think it's going to be very different. Like, a Bitcoin standard is not going to be for the faint of heart, right? I mean, like, it really, like, it has plutocratic sort of tendencies. It has feudalistic tendencies. And like, the case has been made many times that those were better systems where people were free too. So, like, it's just going to be different. It's going to be a new thing. We need a new thing. The old thing is broken, right? Like, people are, like, fat and dying everywhere. Like, I mean, that is the state of current civilization, right? We're all fat and we can't explain why, right?
I can explain why I'm fat.
No, but seriously, like, it's like, like, people were eating like a lot of calories before. It's just that, there was enough of glyphosate, right? And you were in the sun or whatever. Like, there's many orthodoxies for you to follow here, but that's not the point. The point, the assessment of society is that, like, everybody's fat, dying, and not productive, and not, like, we're not progressing at the rate that we should be, right? And that's because the old system, it's like reaching its end, right? Like, and its end could be another 20 years, 50 years, whatever. Like, we don't know where the end is, but it's going that direction, right? Like, we're on the other side of the slope now. And but it's getting replaced, right? Like, at the same, like, a good case for Bitcoin is not the dollar ends, is the dollar gets replaced while is in flight, right? Like,
well, I mean, but that is what's happening. Like, again, I was talking to Phil about this last night. I said, you know what? These massive jumps in the price of Bitcoin, look, they're awesome, but actually, I would be very happy with just a small, consistent rise in the value each year, which even just offsets inflation. If it just offset inflation, that I'd be happy with that.
But see, we don't get the things we want, right?
I know.
It's going to come in waves. It's going to come in waves, right? I mean, that's the wave adoption curve, right? But like, it is working, right? Like, the people who understand money and are more attuned with money already understand and like Bitcoin, right? Now the people who are more preoccupied with, like, number go up in the legacy system have ETFs to go through. Like, we are slowly replacing things, right? Like, and on the internet, like, nothing beats a Lightning payment, right? Like, it's better than Visa, it's better than everything else. So, like, it's gonna happen. It's just like, you just gotta exist in this and make it pleasant.
Let me show you this, right? Like, I bought a football. I bought a football team.
That's pretty awesome.
Let me show you this, right? I've been working on, like, every year I do. I bought a football team, right? And football's super expensive. But every year I do an update on my strategy, like, what's been happening, how far we've got. Let me give you like a key early look into this, right? So like this slide I love because, hold on, let me expand this out so you can see it. But this slide I love because this is the football league, right? These are the divisions. That's where we started. Okay. Tick done, we're now here, right? We're getting closer to our goal. But my favorite slide of all is this one. So the gray blocks is how much Bitcoin we own, and the orange line is the value of that Bitcoin. So when I bought, first had the club a couple of years ago, we had about £40,000 of Bitcoin, right? That was Luxor, I think, when they became a sponsor and they bet us in Bitcoin. And you can see like our amount of Bitcoin has gone up. We had to sell off a little bit this year because we wanted to finance some infrastructure work that we couldn't afford to hold it, so we sold off a bit. But still, the value of our Bitcoin was going up during the time we were selling it. And this to me is the most interesting slide in the whole presentation because this shows what we can do as a football club, how we've been able to plan our future and protect our money by just holding Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, like, but like this shows low time preference too. Like, you become a net saver, right? Like, it's like when your money increases in value without you having to have a PhD in finance, right? Like, because ultimately this is the issue, right? Like, before Bitcoin, if you wanted to get ahead, right, you have to be an incredible smart investor, right? You have to understand all the P&L shit and like, and really go dig on stocks, and because that's really the only way to beat inflation. Now, with Bitcoin, right, like you don't have to know anything. You can be full left curve, right? And like just like get, hold, life better. Get, hold, life better. Get, hold, life better. And every 4 years, you get like, smack in the face with like a total like bonus, right? Like of like, I held, life better, now life 10x better, right? And then it keeps on happening. And like after a few cycles, people are now retrained, like almost like a Pavlov sort of style training, right? You get the ding, like, like it is a remarkable fast way. You're not watching paint dry and grass grow, right? Like old school savings, right? Like where like barely beat inflation, but he still did. No, now you're like, stuff is happening, right? Because there's only 21 million units and there's 8 billion people in the world.
Well, I love this slide.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's changed. It changes the trajectory of what you can do as a business owner. Just by, it was like Mark Moss said to me. He said, like he called it the money game. He said, have positive cash flow and hold assets.
Yes,
you will complete life. Have positive cash flow and hold assets.
How can you not be optimistic, right? Like it goes back to that. Like it's unwavering, right? Like, if you are on the Bitcoin orthodoxy, right? Like dogmatic orthodoxy, that you're going to be 10x better in 5 years, right? Like let's push that even an extra year just for padding, right? Like you're going to be 10x better every 5 years, right? Like how can you not be optimistic? You can make a much better opportunity cost calculation on your life, right? The way you do risk assessment, the way you do, like you think about like, buy, don't buy a thing, where do you invest, like how do you think about your knowledge? How do you think about your business? Because again, you're not having to risk the farm, right, on every decision, because that the farm is going to be 5x better. Sorry, 10x better.
Love that, man. Brother, when am I seeing you next? Coming to consensus.
Funny. No, I really try not to travel too much between spring and fall. Just kids time, not travel, and then travel a lot after that.
I need to come see you there.
Yeah, come visit.
I see your Royal Bedford flag in the background.
That's right. Bring a flag. Bring a Bedford flag, and we'll fly it.
I got you, man. I'll bring one.
That would be awesome. Now listen, just people should go check out OpenSats, especially if you're in America. Go donate it. It's tax deductible. Self-custody your Bitcoin, especially like I love that there was that hack that Jen Stuff released. Like, sorry, that interview.
Dude,
was amazing.
What the fuck?
That
thing was insane.
It was so good.
it was so good it like almost didn't seem real. Like at first I was like, this cannot be real. It's fucking insane.
But, even if that kid is lying about half of it, right? Totally possible. Still, it's still probably half of it is true.
Yeah.
And like, like most people screw themselves out of their Bitcoin before they get hacked, right? So like, get a hardware wallet and learn. Like this whole easy shit. Like don't buy into this woke mind virus of like it must be ultra easy. If it's ultra easy, you don't know what your seed is, and you give it to somebody else. Like
Exactly. Yeah.
you
I'll come
know,
around to that.
it was a battle for a while, right? Like, oh no, it has to be easy and retarded, but then retardeds lose their money. Like it's like don't like
Bash against it a while till you learn.
yes, like you need to learn what the pub key is, right? was that the original meme?
No, it's an Xpub.
Xpub. Okay.
No, I still don't need to know what an Xpub is.
But if you did, you'd be 10x better.
Yeah. I mean, I know what it is.
There you go.
All right, brother. I appreciate you.
man.
Love
This
you,
was
man.
fun.
Peace out.
Ciao.